Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Platitude Era podcast. Thank you for listening to our podcast on the go, whether it's through Spotify, Anchor app, Castbox, Google Podcast, or thank you for watching our podcast on the YouTubes at Platitude Era. So, in this episode of the podcast, we will be talking about hashtag Don't Spoil the Endgame. What does that mean? Well, we're right around the corner, the release date for Avengers Endgame, the final movie in the long story arc, is coming out Friday, April 26th. And they're getting ready to build up the hype machine and get ready for the release. The producers, directors, the studio are starting to release the movies to the critics, to early people that have access to early viewings, world premiere. They're just releasing it all over the place, and they're sending out letters saying, hashtag don't spoil the end game. So what would you like to add about that?
Don't, I guess. I don't know. What do you want to talk about with this particular subject, other than the obvious?
I remember when the last one, Avengers Infinity War, came out, they released the letter, but I don't remember if they released it because people started spoiling it when they had early viewings, or was it they were having the early viewings and it was just like a precaution?
It was probably a precaution. I mean, like, I think it had going for it it Empire Strikes Back-esque finale or ending to it, which is the Thanos snap being, the most iconic thing to walk away from that movie. So not really. I mean, the more savvy comic book viewing audience knows about it, but I'm pretty sure you don't want regular moviegoers, Joe Schmoes, you and me, just like to know that kind of information. So to keep a movie like that under wraps, because I'm guessing the movie makers want you to walk into the film and enjoy it, not having to think about, oh, this happens and then this happens and this happens. Oh, and then by the way, then this happens to Thor and then this happens to so and so. Just kind of walking in fresh, because I mean these guys spent, I don't know, a year or so working on this movie, and maybe this movie's been on the docket from Kevin Feige's composition notebook for like 10 years. So I'm pretty like a lot of tender love and care went into the creation of this movie, and you know the point of enjoying a movie is to walking it and with knowing as little as possible or as much as you need to, watching trailers, commercials, and then just experiencing the movie for yourself, and having genuine natural reactions from watching it for the first time in a crowded movie theater with an audience full of like-minded moviegoers.
Oh, well said. I like the way you phrased that. What's interesting about this is Infinity War and Endgame, were they both adapted from the comic book Infinity Gauntlet, or was it something else?
I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, it's loosely, I want to say loosely adapted. I'm pretty sure, like, the most important beats are there. Like, I'm pretty sure there's never been, like, a Wakanda battle fighting for the gems in any of the comics. Maybe I'm pulling that out of my ass. I don't know. As a layman, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure the movies are kind of their own thing. They're they're loose. They're fairly loosely based. I'm loosely based off of the comics. I'm pretty sure the movies are the movies, and because movie-going audiences, for the most part, don't care about the comics, they probably don't need to be as true to that as possible. Like Civil War is not one-to-one to the comic. I don't know any other. I don't know any battle with Loki or Ragnarok is completely like Ragnarok is supposed to be like a robot clone of Thor, but that's not what that movie is. I mean, like none of these are completely true to form. Age of Ultron isn't like exactly like the comic, so they take general inspirations and then they work off of that to make their own unique, interesting things.
That's true. I started reading Infinity Gauntlet because I heard that in the Infinity Gauntlet, that's kind of a big inspiration for the saga, the Infinity War Saga. And I heard that Captain America gets to wield the Infinity Gauntlet, and I wanted to see how Captain America would wield it in the comic books versus if this happens in the movie, how he would wield it in the movie. And there's a lot of differences. First off the bat, the biggest difference is in Infinity War, the movie, Thanos' snap comes at the end of the movie. And in the comic books, it's like the first thing right off the bat.
Yeah, if the beginning of Infinity War started with the snap, that'd be a wildly interesting. I mean, I guess theoretically you could say that Endgame, like if Infinity War started with the snap, then Endgame is the rest of Infinity War. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But
And
then again, it wouldn't be the same as the comic. Maybe, I don't
and
know.
it
You
just
tell me.
throws you off because in the comic, it starts with the snap, and all the superheroes do not know what's going on. They're completely confused and they're investigating it. Whereas in this movies, the heroes already know what's going on. They're sent a message through Hulk that Thanos has the stones and he's collecting the stones, and they're preparing for it. Whereas in the comics, they're playing Sherlock Holmes and trying to investigate why are there so many changes going on in the world? Why did half the population disappear? Why is the Earth behaving differently?
Yeah, well, I mean, the comics have the liberty of, like, they cost 10 cents an issue. I don't know what they cost, but like at 10 cents an issue, and these are like multi-month arcs, and can span hundreds of pages across, I don't know, hundreds of panels. So I'm like, just pad it out, just write as much shit as you can, whatever, who cares? Just keep getting these idiots to buy more comics because this was going to be cool or whatever. And then it, and so for the movie to kind of expedite everything that happens, hit the main beats, the more iconic, interesting moments, make your own thing, make it a 2.5 hour runtime, and let's get people out of the theater and get the next showing ready.
And what's interesting is how the way they were able to adapt the comics and make their own thing with the movie. For example, in the comics, Doctor Strange survived the snap. In the movie, Doctor Strange does not survive the snap. In the comics, Nick Fury survives the snap. In the movie, Nick Fury does not survive the snap. Drax, the Destroyer, in the comics survived the snap. In the movie, he didn't. I wish I could mention more things, but I wasn't able to finish the comic in time for the movie to start. And I think it's great. I left off in a nice spot, like right in the middle of the comics, so I can kind of still watch the movie and not be affected by what I've read in the comics, because what I've read in the comics is what happened so far in Infinity War, and now what's going to happen in Endgames is probably the second half of the comics that I haven't been able to get to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pulling this out of my ass, which will be the theme of this, which I not knowing much, just seeing like the comic issue covers. That's about it. I think it's just, Adam Warlock fights Thanos, and then he gets the stones or whatever, and then he defeats Thanos, and then he uses the Infinity Gauntlet to snap again, and then undo everything. So, I mean, take that storyline with a grain of salt. Imagine something to a similar effect will happen where our heroes will end up getting all of the stones and then essentially reversing the course of the snap, making their own snap. I don't know.
So it seems that the Adam Warlock character is going to probably be shared between Thor and Captain Marvel, because I think those are the only two strong enough to face Thanos.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the trailers seem to tease, I don't know, that, or the stinger at the end of Infinity War, and I guess some of the trailers for Endgame sort of tease that, Captain Marvel will be the savior, but then I don't know. There's a whole lot more going on with the movies,
and
complex storyline. We'll see.
One of the biggest things of why I decided to make a podcast hashtag Don't Spoil the Endgame is just to talk about that idea. I really am interested, as well as with the community. Anybody watching, write down in the comment sections, or if you use the Anchor app, you can leave a voicemail. If you, and anyone listening had the opportunity to see Endgame early, how much would we talk about it? Would we spoil it? How much can we go, or what? Because it's that one thing where it's like, I got to see it before everybody else. This is a big secret. I can't hold it in. I have to say something. I have to share something.
Well, because I'm not a monster or an asshole. I mean, I'm an asshole sometimes, but I'm not like a horrible monster. But like, I would rather. I don't. I can hold my tongue pretty well, so I'd rather just be like, I. Here's the thing, because today as we're recording this, the premiere happened, and there's already Twitter reactions to their feelings on the movie, and I don't know if you consider their people's reactions to the movie a spoiler or not, but you know, I if the movie elicits such joy from me, such an incredible, if it's a great, one of the best pieces of entertainment I've ever seen, then I'd say I try to keep it to myself. I wouldn't want to overhype people, because I know sometimes that can be a detriment to people. For people, it's like, oh, if you overhype something too much, then people walk away underwhelmed. So if it was one of the best things, I'd say, well, I think I enjoyed it. I'd be like snarky and shit, just like, oh, it's pretty enjoyable, I guess. I think you'll probably like it. So, kind of tempt down people's expectations, and they walk in like, oh my god, this happened, and then this, and then when Thor did that, and then Iron Man said this. Whoa, that was incredible. But yeah, for me, I wouldn't want to. I'm because there's so much hype going behind this movie. There's so much, I don't know, high expectations. I would not want to interfere with that going forward. If I was there sitting front row, sitting next to Kevin Feige and the ghost of Stan Lee, I wouldn't want to, go home and say, oh, Endgame, you idiots, you missed out. What? You didn't get the VIP pass? I feel sorry for you.
And I'm in a similar position as you. I don't have that many friends. I don't go to a lot of social stuff, just because I'm always busy either working or now recording these podcasts and editing these podcasts, that I don't have time. That even if I did have the opportunity to see Endgame early, I don't have the time to go out and spoil it for other people or talk about it. I would keep it to myself. And to any of the doubters out there listening to us in the Anchor app or Spotify, whatever, or watching us on the YouTube, saying, hey, you guys would spoil as much as you would, I say to you, you and me, we would reply to them, oh yeah? Listen to our Shazam episode, how good we are at not spoiling stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's one big story beat in that's worth not spoiling, and based off of some of the reactions I've seen for Endgame, it seems like there can be multiple oh shit moments, or multiple interesting moments, and I'm not from the light things I've gathered, it's like there's more than a handful of them, but I don't see anything going in depth, so those people are being wise about that, and hopefully I could do the same if I were able to watch it early.
And I know you would, because you didn't spoil Shazam.
Yeah, Darth Vader's in Shazam. Oops.
Okay. Now, you've been rewatching the Marvel movies. So what's that experience like in preparation for the Endgame?
It's kind of like, it's interesting nostalgia at this moment, like at this point, because you kind of, for me, like we talk about Game of Thrones, and like I kind of want to rewatch Game of Thrones, but that feels like a slog, whereas these movies feel a little more confined and more condensed and more palatable to kind of ram through. Well, I'm picking and choosing. I rewatched everything in Phase 1 just because it's been a while. Phase 2, I'm skipping a lot. Phase 3, I think I watched a fair amount of that. Like I said, I'm just picking and choosing what I consider the best ones, and it's nice. It's interesting to see where we came from and where we are now. How much filler and nonsense and BS there is in the middle, Phase 2. But because Phase 1, you watch the first Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, and like, oh, these are kind of cute, I guess. But then you watch like Civil War, and you watch Infinity War, and like, wow, how far we've come with these characters. These characters are like, this is a culmination of just years of work and just how much like they make you like nobody cared about Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. Those seem like just like absolute dog poo. And then you watch those first movies and like Iron Man 1's really good. Thor is like fine, I guess, whatever. Captain America feels like really weird. I feel like I'm watching a remake of The Rocketeer, I guess. But then I remember like the first Avengers movie coming out and being so hyped, even though I hated most of these characters except for Iron Man. Like, as long as I get to see Iron Man, I don't care about anything else. And you watch it, and then it manages to make you care about all of these characters. And then, as the movies go on, just, interesting character developments go on, and, so much like stories happen in this movie. That I'm like, oh man, it's reasons like this. I like being a nerd for these kinds of movies, for comic book characters, for movies, for dumb popcorn blockbuster action movies. But I mean, hey, their formula worked, and it worked enough where 22 movies into them, I want to rewatch them in preparation for the 23rd.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If I had the time, I would rewatch those movies. Just a couple days ago, I really had the itch to watch the first Avengers movie when they reunited. It was a well-assembled movie, and when I first saw it, it blew my mind.
Well, I mean, if you want to be stingy or whatever, or not stingy, I don't know, but frugal with your time, then you just skip to the part where they're fighting in New York. There you go. The rest it's kind of fillery. It's still enjoyable through and through, but you can just watch the ending of the first Avengers movie, and then let's see what in Phase 2. I mean, Captain America: Winter Soldier. You can watch that if you want. Age of Ultron. You can skip. You can watch the Guardians movies if you want. I've seen it like headlines or articles. I never read the articles. I'll continue to say that in every episode because I don't read the articles. But they're just like, oh, here's the movies the Russo brothers recommend: Civil War and Infinity War. So I mean, just rewatch those, and I think you'll be up to speed once Endgame comes out.
That's true, because Civil War ended with the band breaking up, and how difficult it would be for the Avengers to reunite, especially Iron Man and Captain America. And just Infinity War was just like chapter one or part one of the saga.
Yeah, and then it's an interesting, like, Civil War being an interesting precursor to Endgame, to Infinity War. I mean, if you think about it, Iron Man and Captain America don't make up in Infinity War.
Now, you mentioned a good thing, or a very interesting item, when you were
Mm-hmm.
rewatching the Marvel movies, that Tony Stark also said, "We're in the end game," just like Doctor Strange said it in Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, okay, so because sometimes you go into a YouTube rabbit hole. I rewatched like the Phase 3 announcement Kevin Feige did, like the El Capitan or whatever, where like they announced all the Phase 3 movies, and they had like this little like kind of vignette or montage or whatever of like when they were announcing Infinity went back when it was going to be called Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2, and like in their little vignette thing they had like the scene where Tony Stark says that up we can fight arms dealers all the live long day, but up there that's the end game. So I'm guessing ever since the beginning of Phase 3 they had it in their minds that it was going to be Endgame.
Wow, and the way they tricked us, how Infinity War ended, there were rumors going around that the title for the next Avengers movie was going to show up at the end, and that's why they released the letters, because they didn't want people to spoil the next movie until they've seen Infinity War. Then they said, "Oh, we never mentioned the title of the movie um, in the movie Infinity War," and then it turns out that they did. It was called Avengers Endgame.
Well, hold on. Nobody in Infinity War said Marvel's Avengers Endgame registered trademark. You tell me what minute, what frame did somebody say Disney's Marvel's the Avengers Assemble space Endgame one word registered trademark.
Well
Bob
said.
Iger's signature, Walt Disney's signature.
Well
So I
said.
mean, that's some J.J. Abrams did that back when like Star Trek Into Darkness came out, and it's like Khan is not the bad guy. I don't know where you guys are getting this idea, but Khan's not the bad guy. and then Cons ends up the bad guy. Oh yeah, but isn't it? Hey guys, isn't it more fun if you don't know? And I kind of stand by that. Like, I've been avoiding for the most. I like the leaked footage came out. I didn't watch that. I don't like the Marvel's YouTube channel keeps coming out like 30-second spots or like minute-long trailers. I've been avoiding most of that stuff like the plague, except for like the first two trailers that came out. I
Yeah.
can rewatch those. And I mean, like they're being pretty cagey with whatever footage they're putting in those trailers, because like you could rewatch the Infinity War trailers, and I mean, there's a lot that's not there, but there's a good, like, knowing there's a battle in Wakanda or whatever. That seems like that feels pretty spoilery. But from watching all these Endgame trailers, it doesn't feel as revealing as the Infinity War trailer. So I'm guessing marketing is being kind for the for the movie, being a little more resistant to revealing spoilers, and
From what I
we'll
heard from
see.
other YouTubers is that all the footage and the trailers and everything that they've released from the movie, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually from the first 15 to 20 minutes of the Infinity War.
Yeah, I've seen something like that too. So like, I mean, a lot of it is just a bunch of people moping inside of like the Avengers building, and then there's like 20 seconds of, oh hey, there's a bunch of debris and rubble, and Thanos is in the background looking smug, and Captain America looks pissed. But like, so that you're assuming that's like the third act final battle, whatever. So that's about as much as you get. For a 3-hour movie, which is I think considerably longer than the runtime for Infinity War. There's a whole heck of a lot that you're not aware of.
Now, to build up the hype machine here, there's this article where they interviewed Robert Downey Jr., and he says, Avengers Endgame, the ending is the best 8 minutes of the entire MCU.
Well, so yeah, I guess that's an interesting I don't know, piece of information, because like you watch the ending of any movie and it's kind of just a whole bunch of wrap up. So considering that 8 minutes is the best, whatever. I mean, I guess we'll see. That's about as much I can say about that, as we'll see. Because I've seen some of the reactions, and it's like for the movie, and it's like the best send up. It's not only just like the best Marvel movie. It's like it's not just the best 3 hours. It's the best like 11 years of my life spent. So I mean, I guess a lot of craftsman like time and craft went into making this movie. Maybe even more so than Infinity War.
And now, this wouldn't be appropriate if we didn't read the letter, so we have to read the letter. Do you want to read the letter, or should I?
I don't have their letter in front of me. I didn't know you were going to read it.
I
So,
just
as
figured.
somebody who didn't bring their homework, who wasn't here the day the assignment was assigned, didn't even walk in with the syllabus, I don't think I can participate in that part. So, why don't you go ahead?
All right, so this letter was written by the Russo brothers. Greetings. It says, to the greatest fans in the world,
Hey, that's
this
me.
is this is it. This is the end game. The end of an unprecedented narrative mosaic spanning 11 years and 11 franchises. For all of you who have been on this journey with us since the very beginning, sharing every high and every low with your family, your friends, your classmates, your coworkers, investing so deeply in every character and storyline, laughing, cheering, shedding tears, giving so freely of your thoughts and emotions in spirited dialogue, theories, fan art, and fan fiction, please know that the two of us, along with everyone involved in Endgame, have worked tirelessly for the last 3 years with the sole intention of delivering a surprising and emotionally powerful conclusion to the Infinity Saga. Because so many of you have invested your time, your hearts, and your souls into these stories, we're once again asking for your help. When you see Endgame in the coming weeks, please don't spoil it for others, the same way you wouldn't want it spoiled for you. Remember, Thanos still demands your silence. As always, good luck and happy viewing. Their signature, the Russo brothers. Hashtag don't spoil the Endgame. That's it. I finished reading the letter.
Oh, no, I could tell from the extremely long silence. I don't know if you had anything to say after that.
Well,
Yeah, yep, you read that letter. Good job, boy.
just the one thing while I was reading the letter, what came to mind was how don't spoil it. They didn't spoil it. They worked very hard, the cast, crew, and everybody. And I was just thinking about who was it, the director of photography that spoiled the name of the movie?
I get, but I mean, the name of the movie never really mattered. It only mattered if you're in your seat watching Infinity War and like, but I know the next one's called Endgame. So I can understand Kevin hashtag like Kevin the liar Feige's thought process, which is like it kind of ruins the movie or the movie going experience for you when you're watching it. And it's like well, probably why they changed it from Infinity War Part One and Part Two. It's like why I'm watching Infinity War Part One, Part Two is coming out next year. So why should I care? Why should I be as invested in this one? The real movies next comes out next year. So I'm understand, I can understand from their point of view. Hey, watch this. I mean, hell, Infinity War's just a culmination unto itself. So enjoy this. Don't think about the future. Think about the present. You got a lot to deal with now.
And this wouldn't be an Infinity War or Avengers episode if we don't talk about theories that we have for the saga. Are there any theories you want to share?
Uh, like I said, I've been like I go in fresh. I don't try to think about this stuff, but some just based on some of the leaks that people have known for years or however long, like, oh, the quantum realm and time travel is the answer. So I don't know, they're all going to go in the quantum realm and travel back in time to something or other. That's about as in depth as I can go because that's about as in depth as I'm willing to go.
Now, some of these theories that I have are what have come from my brain based on other mediums I've seen, Marvel media, and also from previous films. So we have in Avengers Infinity War, Thanos is fighting against Thanos on, what was it, Titan, and he's using his armor to try to stop Thanos. And the best he could do was cut him up and make him bleed, which reminded me of Iron Man 2, where, what was his name? Whiplash?
Oh yeah, Ivan Vanko. I rewatched Iron Man 2. That's fine.
He he
Go on,
he's,
proceed.
he he went on his whole speech about how you make a god bleed, then there's blood in the water and the sharks come. So
Yeah.
because Iron Man was able to make Thanos bleed, can we assume that there's going to be aliens from other planets coming after Thanos?
Yeah, her name's Captain Marvel. She's from Kree something or whatever. You mean Vers? Get it? Because her name is Carol Danvers.
They made a big deal in the movie to mention that.
Yeesh.
Now, another theory is that everyone's saying characters have to die in this movie, which is weird because in Infinity War, characters did die and they're trying to bring them back. So why are some characters going to stay dead? And I think one person we can scratch off the list, well, that's because everyone said, oh, Iron Man started it, so it makes sense that it ends with Iron Man. But I want to scratch Iron Man off the list as a possible character that could die for one reason only. I've seen the X-Men cartoons, the Marvel X-Men cartoons. I've heard about it in comic books, that there always has to be a wedding episode, a wedding comic book issue. And we haven't had that in the movies, a wedding in the movie. And Infinity War talked about Pepper Potts and Iron Man's wedding. So could we say Iron Man will survive the end game and have his wedding and it'll be seen on screen?
My theory for who would survive in like going on is like based on who's still having fun. So like what's his nose? Chris Evans, like he's probably still enjoys himself, but I think he wants to move on to greener pastures. Like I saw like some like interview, some press junket or something where like the interviewer's like, "Hey, so Captain America's probably gonna die in this because your contract's running out, right?" And then he's like, "Yeah, my contract's running out, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna die." So there's a possibility, like when he gets tired of making movie like direct because he wants to be a director of him directing movies. It's like I won't be around for Avengers 5, but maybe I might be if I have an itch to scratch or I want to add another floor to my condo, I might sign on for Avengers 6. We'll see. So Chris Evans probably out. Chris Hemsworth, like the first for the most part in my eyes, the first two Thors are kind of clunkers, but like he's been revived. Like even his appearances in any of the Avengers movies, except anything pre Ragnarok, is kind of meh for me. So like the Thor franchise is kind of rejuvenated post Ragnarok. So you could see Chris Hemsworth like, okay, so this is what we can do with the character now. So like maybe we want to make another Thor. So I could see Hemsworth staying around, Thor staying alive. I do like Beta Ray Bill, that weird horse-faced monster, being the next God of Thunder, but only because it looks weird. I don't know anything about the character. He looks cool. That's why you should be it. Robert Downey Jr. I think is still having fun. I think he's still enjoying himself. I mean, it would be like kind of a bit of fun to like, oh, Spider-Man, in Phase 4 and on upcoming phases, Spider-Man's doing his thing, and then Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is in the background every now and again, and he comes in and pops in to say hello or whatever. So, maybe you won't see an Iron Man leading movie, but like, I'll be taking a I'll be in the trunk. I'm not even taking a back seat to any of these movies anymore. I'll be in the trunk, or I'll be in the RV. I'll be sleeping in the bed, or I'll be I'm in the Jeep that's being towed by the RV. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Robert Downey Jr. for a while. He becomes the new Stan Lee cameo. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
And now his watch has ended.
Yeah, and then you could see Nick Fury die. I guess I don't know.
I can see Nick
Scarlett
Fury
Johansson.
coming back because he was in the new Spider-Man movie trailer.
Well, rumors are that takes place before Infinity War, so we'll see.
And I heard rumors that it takes place after.
Oh, fascinating. Interesting how rumors work. They're all bullshit, and you'll never know until afterwards.
And then the last theory I have here, everybody wants to see a Secret Wars. And I remember from the Spider-Man cartoons, Spider-Man visits the Secret War through Madam Web, and he runs into Captain America. So I'm thinking, what if they're saying, oh, this is the end of the Infinity Saga, and then it's the passing of the torch from the old Avengers to the new Avengers. But what if, Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers are thinking, oh, let's work on even a bigger arc, the Secret Wars. So I'm thinking maybe Captain America wields the Infinity Gauntlet, and then the Tesseract opens up this dimension, like cliche movies where it has to be closed from the inside. Captain America is always talking about the mission, and his whole purpose is the mission. And, in Avengers 2, Scarlet Witch scared everybody, and Captain America wasn't afraid of anything. The only thing that he was afraid of was the mission being over. So what if Captain America volunteers to close the portal from inside, and now we just wait for the Avengers Secret War where we're reunited with Captain America again?
I could see that as a possibility. Just like, hey, Captain America, Is there some other character where they kind of just disappeared for a while, but they're always in the background? Some TV show, movie. I might
The
be pulling
Hulk?
something at them. No, I mean not necessarily Marvel related, but just like, hey, this character is gonna go away, and then they may or may not come back for a while. Oh, they came back for a big thing. I don't know. I'm talking in circles here, but just the idea that, hey, because Endgame feels like a big, a finisher, or not necessarily a reset button, but just closing of one book, and then so they can start anew, but for fan service, or because it seems like they don't want to do it. Like Secret Wars could definitely be in the works, but it might, maybe it's another 10 years down the line, because they have new characters with new actors with new contracts that they want to focus on, and then like, hey, maybe when people start feeling a little bit of the comic book fatigue, then maybe we bring them back in with a Secret Wars movie. So just have Captain America say goodbye. I'm going back to my home planet now, and then you see the film being cut as he slowly lifts off the screen. And then, in about 10 years, oh, hey, guys, like Doc Brown style. It's like, something's got to be done about your dimension. And, So there you go. There's your Secret Wars lead up.
I like that. And that's why you should work for Marvel. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody gets to hear that really good idea, that concept for free by subscribing to our podcast. Now,
Yeah.
the main point and the main reason why we had this special episode of hashtag Don't Spoil the Endgame, it's because you and I were invited to a superhero themed party. And
What?
what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What are you talking about?
You and me were
Uh-huh.
invited to a superhero themed party.
Okay.
And I want to know if you want to go to the superhero themed party.
Do I have to dress up or something?
Uh, it's like going to a party. You don't
So I
have to
have to
wear a
put pants
tux.
on.
You do have to put on pants.
Uh,
No, I wouldn't bring this up, if it wasn't worth it, but I think it is worth it.
I'm RSVPing maybe on this one.
Maybe?
I guess. You're being really cagey.
Oh, okay. Because, if you do decide to go, then I'm going to forward you the email with more information
Oh,
as far as the date, the time, the location.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I was thinking this would be like a fun other podcast episode
Uh-huh.
where we have footage of the party, as well
Uh-huh.
as I was thinking about buying one of those Hero 7 GoPros with the what is it called, where you move around but like it's steady and smooth.
Gimbal? Something?
No. The GoPro 7 has a special feature where it's like it has smoothness. You push a button or something or a setting, and it's smooth.
Uh,
So as you're walking and you're going through different things, your handshakes, but the footage would be smooth. I
wow.
remember a couple of
Smooth.
of YouTubers were invited to a GoPro premiere of the GoPro 7, and they
I'll
went
go
to
to
an
this party if they get paid for a GoPro thing. I would gladly if we're getting paid. Are we getting paid?
no, we're not
And then
getting
I
paid.
can tweet about it on my Samsung Galaxy Fold.
We have to pay to go to this party.
Uh, then I guess I won't be tweeting about it for my Samsung Galaxy Fold that they won't send me because I don't work for them yet.
No, it's not from Samsung and it's not from GoPro. But I just thought, two ordinary Joes. We buy the GoPro Hero 7. We try it out at this party, see what it's like. Because
Mm.
I think there's going to be a lot to do at this party. And, we won't be able to, stand for, 10 to 15 minutes getting, a really good shot. It's just like, hey, man, we got, a few seconds to go from this place to this place. So we'll film here. And as we're filming here, we're moving so we could do everything the party has to offer.
Wow.
And then with that, leaving you on the spot and speechless, we conclude this episode of the podcast. Thank you to everybody for listening to us, taking our podcast on the go through Anchor app, Spotify, Castbox, Google Podcasts, wherever else podcasts are available. We want to thank Anchor for creating this awesome app that lets us record podcasts through technology and release it to the masses on different platforms. You can also watch our podcast on YouTube at Platitude Era. Coming soon, footage from the party, as well as trying out the GoPro 7 with the smooth feature, see what it looks like. Keep up with us socially, Twitter at Platitude Era or Instagram at Platitude Era Show. And am I forgetting anything?
Don't forget to buy your GoPro Hero 7s and take them with you to see Avengers Endgame in theaters Thursday, April 26th.
Oh.